How resilient do you think you are? Can you identify with or envision having to deal with the loss of one's job, the loss of the family home, the car, and the savings, only to start rebuilding, and then have to face a mental and physical health challenge? All this while also trying to juggle the demands of the additional role of playing caregiver and being still supermom. Many of us over 45 have had to overcome some challenges and real diversity in our life up until this point. And I don't know about you, but I feel very fortunate and very blessed that when I look back in my life, these detours and roadblocks, while they have been tough, it's not as challenging as it has been for many others. Shannon Martin is one of these gals. Lucky her. Join me and Shannon as she shares more of her details of her story and how she has really come through a much more difficult road with the power of love, prayer, meditation, and much, much more. Shannon Martin is the owner of Jessie Mae's Gifting Company, located in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, mother of 3, the wife of 27 years, and the nana of 1 who also just turned 1. Mm-hmm. And although we both know that coming through such setbacks can really strengthen us and help us create a much better life going forward, it doesn't mean it's always easy. So I think you'll be inspired to hear just how Shannon has come through by working really hard on herself and by choosing joy. I love that. And by accepting the patience and time it takes to be where she wants to be. So welcome, Shannon.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
And I'm really actually excited because you're also starting your own entrepreneurial endeavor and path. And
yes,
it's taken a little while to get to, so I'm excited that you get to talk about Jessie Mae's Gifting Company today as well.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you're here because it's Life Reimagined, right?
Right.
This is not what we expected it to be. At
all.
At all. So start off by sharing just an overview of kind of all the little detours. And I know the toughest part, I think, for Shannon today is that she's got a lot in her story that she's really come through. And again, I just am in awe. And so Shannon, take a few minutes and really share what little roadblocks and what detours you've had to navigate to get to where you and I are touching base today.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned before, in 2013, we had a major setback because I was a stay-at-home mom, and my husband was the sole breadwinner. So when he lost his job due to base cuttings, they closed a lot of bases. So we really took a hit on everything. We lost our savings, we lost our home, eventually losing our car, and it was so devastating at the time because we didn't know what we were going to do. Mm-hmm. And we just kept trying to say, okay, we're going through this for a reason. Mm-hmm. So we're going to keep in prayer, and we're going to hope that God leads us out. And he did. And once we started to build ourselves back up, I just started to not feel well. And eventually I ended up in the emergency room one night. I thought that I was having a heart attack, but in fact, it was a massive panic attack that I was having.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 42 at the time.
Yeah, this is still young.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, am I having a heart attack at 42? What is going on? My arm, arm was hurting. I couldn't breathe. And then my whole right side just went out. And that's when I told I just said, I'm glad I'm in the emergency room, but Lord, please let me make it through this, because I really thought it was a, life flashing before my eye moment. And once they told me that this is what's going on, you had a panic attack, and because depression is its bedmate, you have both. And I'm saying, okay, well, give me the pill. What can I do? I'm going to shake this off and, just send me home. And they're like, no, Miss Martin, it's not that easy. And I didn't know it was going to be an uphill battle from there. And,
well, and because you're still a mom of three. I mean, you're, still mom.
yes,
And everything else still, all the other life's worries don't go away. These
no,
just get added to it.
exactly. And at that time, my kids were so active in school, and I was trying to figure out, I'm so exhausted all the time, but yet my daughter was in cheer, my son was in band, and the other one was in chorus and all these things. And I'm like, how am I going to juggle all of this and still just be productive every day? And so it started to wear me down a little bit. But luckily, I had my husband there, and he was kind of like, okay, he wasn't sure of what was going on with me. He just knew that something was really just drastic happening, because I had never been that way, our whole marriage. And at this time, I think we were, I don't even know how many years, but he didn't know how to, he didn't know how to deal with it. So we were just taking it, a day at a time, and eventually I started to go downhill a lot more before I realized that I had to make a change, because it was so, it's like it happened, that was okay, and then it just plummeted. So I had to really sit back and think about what was going on with me. I had to start researching. I had to start saying, okay, how can I make this better on me? Because I still had kids in college, they were going to college, and we were still in their activities, and we were still doing a lot of things, and I still had a couple at home. So I started to have to really just say, okay, Shannon, you have to realize what is going on with you, because, you hear about people shaking it off, but I wasn't shaking it off, Yeah. So I thought I was broke. I was like, okay, I'm broke. What is going on? And once I started to really understand what was happening, I needed to just take a minute for myself. And that's something I didn't do for a long time. I just didn't stop and say, okay, this is what you have to do for yourself. And I never did that the whole time. And it was approaching about 6 years when I was still dealing with it, that I started to say, I have to change. And that's when I started to realize about meditating, trying to eat better, trying to exercise a little bit, even if it was like just walking. I love to walk. Yeah. So I had to start doing, started to start seeing that there was this pattern that I had to do. And it was so hard to do when I didn't have my whole schedule was about my children. So I didn't have a schedule for Shannon. Shannon didn't have a schedule. So what am I going to do to fill this time? So I was just looking.
I love the way you just phrased that, though, because I think a lot of women do that. You're so busy taking care of others. I love that you just said you didn't have a schedule for Shannon.
I didn't. I was like, what am I going to do? And that's when I said, okay, how can I make this better for me so that I can be somewhat productive during the day? And that's when I started to realize, learning about meditation, eating better, praying a lot more, because I really was lost with that, because when you're going through depression and these things, you kind of cut yourself off. And I started saying, what made me happy? The happiest part was when I was closest to God, and you have that relationship with him, and you're talking and you're saying this, getting the emotions out during the day. That's what I said, okay, I have to do my devotionals every day. I have to pray, I have to take the time out to just start to pouring back into myself. I poured so much into my husband, his job, military wife, supermom, everything, that I had depleted myself. And that's what drove me to have my panic attack and all these things, because I was depleted. So I started to say, I have to take time out for me. And it's okay. Because, when you're a mom, you're kind of like, well, I don't want to take time out for myself because I feel bad and I need to do this. But in a sense, you have to, you have to take that time out to say, what do I want to do? What do I see myself doing in the time? Because like now they're leaving, they're going away. Right. And so I don't have anything to do. And someone's like, well, this is the time that I need to start saying, okay, Maybe I need to put into my business more, um, work on my health a lot more, and just start just thinking about what makes me happy. And I hadn't thought about that in a very long time. Very
And
long time.
that's an amazing statement. And I think most people don't realize how long they go without
Mhm.
figuring out what they want or what's going to make them happy.
You don't, because you're just so into the circle, the little
Daily
the
grind.
loop, and you're just going, and you're trying to say, okay, they need this, they need that, and you're just trying to be there for them, and you don't realize that you're not putting time to yourself.
Mhm.
And when you do, you're in my situation where you're depleted.
Mhm.
And then once I started to realize that, my mother became sick. She ended up in the hospital, and I was like, okay, I knew she had a stroke, but then the next time she said she was in pain. And I was like, Mom, why are you in pain? And we found out that she had multiple myeloma cancer, which is a bone marrow cancer. And it hit her at 69.
Oh, that's
And
still young.
yeah, and that's the age where they find it.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, what are we going to do with this? And they were like, well, she can have basic chemo. But they found that she had like a gene that was, they call it a rogue gene. And if we didn't do chemotherapy, it would be back with the vengeance within like 3 months or so. So here we go with the chemo. We had to do chemo for 2 weeks. And they said, okay, it worked, but we're still worried about this gene. So now she's doing weekly infusions, try to suppress the gene. And that took another toll on my health, because not only am I now I'm a caregiver, and then I was diagnosed with caregiver strain. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So it took everything that I had worked on before, it just went away again. And I was back to where I was before, backtracked again with my health. And I just didn't know
Right.
what to do. I was like, Lord, I've made it this far. Now I have another setback. So where do I go from here? And I had to really
Right.
go within myself really hard. And it was a couple of bad days that I had to really just muster up any energy just to keep going, because it was so much at one time.
You must have felt so overwhelmed, like way underwater. I
I
can't even
was,
imagine.
I would literally, my only thing that was left was my hair was on the top. Was all that was left. I was just like, please, God, guide me through this once again, because I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
And by my being the only person um, to help my mother, just me and my husband yet again.
Mhm.
And we were so burnt out with everything that was going on that I was kind of trying not to go back into having a massive panic attack again, because all of my doctors were saying, you're still in a volatile state right now because of everything that's happening. I kept having these mini attacks. And I was like, oh my gosh, what now? What's going to happen now? And each time, it's like every time I try to get up again and say, okay, well now, because you have this and you're overweight, now you have diabetes. Okay, now you have this. And I was just like, Lord, if I have one more diagnosis, if I have to go to another specialist, I'm just going to just say, forget it. I'm just going to just sit here for a minute and just cry. And I really had to, once again, go deep within myself and pray, because that's the only thing I knew to do. I really had to ask him to show me what it is I need to do, because my spirit, my joy, my love, everything was gone. And I just didn't know how to get it back. And I had to reset myself again. I just sat down and said, Shannon, you're going to have to really dig deep if you're going to continue, because I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to be, suicidal or anything like that, because my mother kept saying, oh, you're not suicidal. No, I'm not suicidal. Thank the Lord, I'm not. I don't have that intention, because I know that tomorrow's going to be a better day. It's just getting to tomorrow.
Right.
And that was the hard part, getting to tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I sat down once again, just prayed, and I just started to say, okay, now, yet again, let's go back to the basics that I learned before. and let's redo it again. Let's give it one more try. And this time, let's do it again. Get back on that wheel again. Let's try to get this going this time, girl. And let's just keep riding. And so that's where I am now. I just take it baby steps every day. Just to get up, you know.
Because you were dealing with physical health challenges, mental health challenges, and questioning everything while being totally underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it's important to recognize you touched on earlier, you said, I don't have time for this, right? You got kids to raise, you got a husband to take care of, you got a world of other things to deal with. You don't have time for this stuff.
Right.
How did you get to the point where you actually realized, because you kept going, this, that you needed to have patience and that you needed to invest more in yourself or again in yourself and do it again, over and over. So how did you get to the point where you had the patience to breathe through it?
I had to just really I thought to myself, I said, what did I do before that kept me calm? And what am I not doing now? And I realized that I wasn't doing anything. I allowed myself to be submerged again. And I said, well, now, after talking with you and other ladies, I realized that, okay, I need to come up with a schedule for me. Because like I said it before, I didn't have a schedule. So once again, because I was on the roller coaster ride and got flung off it, I didn't have a schedule again because I was back to square one, sleeping and tired and all that. So I said, okay, you're going to have to meditate. You're going to have to do the meditation because that's what it was. I wasn't doing the meditation. And you're going to have to journal because I wasn't journaling like I'm supposed to.
Good.
And you're going to do your devotionals and going to pray daily because I prayed throughout the day, but actually praying at night was like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't eat much. I wasn't eating. So I said, okay, now you have to go back to making your smoothies. You're going to have to do these things again. So I started saying, okay, the things I'm not doing, let me try this again. And they really helped. And that's what started me leveling myself back out. And being able to tolerate the weekly trips to the hospital, the things that come up with her that may not pan out, things that with me with having myself and also taking deep breaths throughout the day. Whenever I feel like I was anxious or whatever, to just calm myself down and go through the motions again. So it was to a point where that's what I had to do. And I realized my priorities were kind of like, I had to re-prioritize myself and get myself back on that track because I had fell off it again. And it was so easy to do that you don't realize that it was happening. And then when you realize that you're overwhelmed again, you kind of like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you don't realize it in the middle.
No, you don't until you're off, and then you're spazzing again, and you're like, "What? Why am I having these issues?"
Right.
To recenter yourself and say, "Okay, this is what I have to do again," and it's a ongoing struggle. And I have to be mindful of things that I'm not doing, and it's kind of easy to say that, but it's really hard to just be mindful of what you're not doing and what you're not doing to take care of yourself. And it's just a daily thing.
Yeah. And I think your comment about the significance of schedule is really important because you think, well, if I'm not doing the corporate job, I don't have to have the schedule. Right. But then days go by and weeks and months and maybe you're like, well, I didn't get done what I wanted to do. And I was too busy taking the kids to cheerleading and to band and there was no time for Shannon, right?
Exactly. And that is exactly what I was doing. I was just in this circle. I don't even know how to say it. You're on a hamster wheel and you're just going, going. And you don't realize it until, like you say, weeks later, okay, so I didn't do anything. I didn't declutter. I didn't do my hot spots like I was supposed to do, you know, just things to keep me going through the day. I didn't get any of that done. It's a month later. And that's when you have to realize, oh my goodness, I really have to focus. And I just made myself say, okay, if I don't do it, it's okay. You know, don't really be hard on yourself because you didn't do it. And that was really hard for me.
That's another really important point too.
Yes. And I was so hard on myself, like I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I said, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath and that, okay, if you didn't do it this week, then let's try to get it done. Be mindful of it on Wednesday next week or, you know, Friday or something so that you can just get it done and you can feel like you've accomplished something. Because when you don't have a schedule, and like I have one home now, you know, and his schedule, he's 17, so I don't have to do, you know, much of anything in it, but I still, you know, have to keep an eye on him, but not as much as before. So now I just have to say, okay, what do I need to do with this time, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And so because we've had 2020 is such a turbulent year, and you probably have people listening in who have either dealt with health crises or job losses or, you know, changing relationships, whatever. Any other words of wisdom other than just telling them to hang on, but anything else you'd say just to give them a moment of inspiration and how to get through it?
Just know that this season that you're going through, it's not going to last forever. That God brings you through the storms and he's going to bring you to the end. You know, right now you don't see that because you're in the storm, but there's going to be the light at the end, and just keep going and just keep holding on to the belief that it's going to get better. It has to get better. That tomorrow is always going to be another day for you to have another, you know, chance at something. So just keep going.
And that's leading you then to the new exciting entrepreneurial endeavor with that Jessie Mae's gifting company.
Yes.
Very exciting.
It is exciting because, you know, I've been checking at it for a little bit. And so now I'm just like, you know, I have one last one at home. And so what am I going to do with myself? Yep. And I said, you know, this is the time for me to focus on me and what I've been trying to do for years. So I'm excited about it. Excited, nervous, all that stuff.
All that stuff. But good emotion.
I'm really excited about it.
But good nervous. And
yes,
stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And will keep my schedule busy. So I will have something to do and work towards for myself.
Yeah, great. Well, and I'm going to actually post some information about you and your gifting company on my website, so people can come and check that out.
Awesome.
And to end on a little positive note before, on a lighter note, before we kind of talk about where else to find our information about our book. So let's go back, because you and I are both, quote, over 45. We don't need to know where we are in that spectrum. But since we grew up, and television was really different for our generation growing up than any others before us.
Yes.
And so what's a show from the 80s or 90s that was either like an aha for you or something that was really significant culturally, emotionally, just at this stage of your growing up? So what from your growing up time?
Okay, the show that I really loved was A Different World. It's because, you know, Lisa Bonet from the Cosby Show was going to college. So I followed her from the Cosby College.
Yep, that's right. I remember that. So was it Dwayne Wayne?
I love the show.
Was the guy's name Dwayne Wayne?
Yes. He had the flip-up glasses.
Yeah.
I bought some because he had some. So yes, but I really love that show because it showed you how fun college could be, you know, and that's the next level. Yeah. And it talked about going to a historically black college university. Yeah. And all the culture that was going on at that school. But it also talked about a lot of the things that you were going through as a teenager. That you know, that you may go through, like whatever the social challenges were back then.
Yeah.
It was nothing like today. But back then,
No.
they were a little more simpler than that. You
A
know,
little
like you like
simpler.
guy, likes you. But
Yeah.
so that I'll never miss the episode. Every night, that it just talked about so many good things that, you know, to help you get through life. It just as going through growing up, you know, and getting older. And so I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh no, that's great. That's great. I forgot about a different world. It's been a while since I thought about that.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, well, Shannon, thanks so much for being here and sharing your story. I'm so pleased that you're part of our forthcoming group book. So you and I are co-authors soon.
Yay!
Yay! And that listeners can hear more about your story and more about these challenges and what you're looking forward to. So
Yes.
Shannon and I join 8 other amazing women who are sharing their stories of diversity and the roadblocks and life detours that each have had and the insights they gleaned from their own very different personal challenges, and also how it's made each of us much more resilient and truly help shape the persons and the strong and successful women that we've become. So I will have more information on my website. Yep. So DestinationUWendy.com. So you can get more information about Shannon's story and the book and additional free resources to help if you're stuck in the middle of either a career, a life interruption, transition, whatever it is, and how hopefully you're going to turn the tide and schedule more time for you. Because I really hope these stories that Shannon and others are sharing inspire you to live your life more assertively, take care and focus more on you, and control your destiny and the life path that you're creating going forward. So Shannon, thanks so much for being here, and thanks everybody for listening.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone.